I still remember that night. The kind of night you don't forget, even if heaven tried to help you. The room was cold. The lights were dim. The smell of antiseptic filled the air like death had already signed the papers. I could hear the nurses whispering outside my door. They thought I was asleep. But I heard every word. "She won't make it till morning," one said. "She's too weak. It's only a matter of time." My heart didn't break because of the sickness. It broke because of the silence that followed. No family, no footsteps rushing in. No hand to hold. I had given my whole life to people who now waited for me to stop breathing. Not because they were praying for peace, but because they were waiting for what I'd leave behind. Machines kept count of my life in tiny beeps. And with each one, I whispered, "Lord, if you still see a purpose in me, don't let this be my last breath." I wasn't scared to die. I was scared to die unfinished. Scared that my story would end in pity instead of purpose. Somewhere between the sound of the rain outside and the hum of the oxygen machine, something happened. I felt warmth, not from the blanket, not from the room, but deep inside me, like light finding its way through cracks. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't my ending. This was God pressing reset on my story. They thought it was my last breath, but it was my new beginning. You don't wake up one day expecting your body to turn against you. It starts slow, a cough that lingers, a tiredness that feels heavier than usual. At first, I told myself it was just age, just another ache I could pray through. But prayer couldn't stop the dizziness. And one morning, as I stood by my kitchen window, the world went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, 4 in my arm. Machines blinking, strangers talking about my life like I wasn't even there. The doctor looked at me with that face I've seen too many times before. The kind that already knows the ending. "Mrs. Beth," he said softly, "your organs are failing. We'll do what we can, but you should prepare." Prepare for what? I wanted to ask. For death? For goodbye? Because nobody teaches you how to die. My children came the next day. Not all of them, just the ones who wanted to check if the paperwork was ready. Their eyes didn't look at me. They looked around the room, at my purse, my jewelry, my phone. And I could feel it, the weight of their greed, heavier than the sickness in my bones. I had raised them with love, with faith, with food I sometimes couldn't afford. And now, as I lay fighting for my breath, they were fighting over what I'd leave behind. That night, when the nurse left me alone, I cried the way a mother cries, not loud, not wild, but quiet. The kind that shakes your soul. I looked at the ceiling and whispered, "Lord, is this how my story ends? Forgotten and used." No answer came that night. Just silence. But deep down, something told me this pain wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Sometimes, God lets everything around you fall apart, so you can finally see who was really holding you together. That night was the longest of my life. Every breath felt borrowed. Every second felt like a goodbye waiting to happen. The nurse had turned off the main light, leaving only the glow of the heart monitor steady, soft, and slow. I could hear the rain outside tapping against the window, almost like a lullaby from heaven. I closed my eyes, ready to rest. Maybe for the last time. And then, everything went still. The beeping slowed. The air grew heavy, like time itself was holding its breath. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. It was as if my spirit had stepped outside my body, watching everything from above. I saw the nurse rush in, shouting for help. Doctors running. Hands pressing on my chest. Voices yelling, "We're losing her." But I wasn't lost. I was standing in light. A light so pure, it didn't hurt my eyes. It healed them. And in that silence, I heard it. A voice. Not loud, not thunder. Just, still and certain. It said, "Beth, it's not your time." I remember whispering, even though I didn't have a mouth anymore, "Lord, if you still want me here, show me why." And then breath. My body gasped like it was pulled back into the world. The machine screamed back to life. And suddenly, I was awake, choking, crying, alive. The doctors looked at me like they'd seen a ghost. One of them said, "We lost her pulse for 2 minutes." But somehow, he didn't finish. Because some things science can't explain, and faith doesn't need to. When they left the room, I laid there, staring at the ceiling, tears rolling down my face. And for the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt chosen. God didn't just give me my breath back. He gave me purpose. From that night on, I promised, if He was giving me a second chance, I'd spend it telling people what He can do when everyone else says it's over. Because sometimes, the miracle isn't in the healing. It's in the awakening. When I left that hospital, I wasn't the same woman who went in. The sickness had weakened my body, but the miracle had strengthened my soul. Every step I took after that was slower, but every step meant something. People looked at me like I was a ghost, walking, a miracle in motion. The doctors said, "We can't explain it." But I didn't need them to, because I knew who did it. The first morning back home, I sat by my window, the same one where I'd once collapsed and watched the sunrise. It wasn't just light breaking the sky. It was God saying, "I kept my promise." I decided that day, I wouldn't waste my second chance. I started small, helping at the church again, calling people I'd lost touch with, forgiving those who had hurt me. Forgiveness didn't come easy, especially not for my children. They didn't visit much after the hospital. Guilt can make people disappear. But I prayed for them anyway, because I realized, sometimes, God saves you not to change your enemies, but to change your heart. One afternoon, I sat with a young nurse from the hospital who came to check on me. She said, "Miss Beth, I've never seen anyone come back like that before. What kept you alive?" I smiled, took her hand, and said, "Child, sometimes faith doesn't stop the storm. It just teaches you how to breathe through it." Every scar I had, every foremark, every wrinkle, every memory became a story I could share. I wasn't embarrassed anymore. I was grateful. My house, once quiet and empty, started filling again, not with family or friends, but with purpose. I began recording my story, one piece at a time, so someone out there could hear it when they're ready to give up. Because, maybe, just maybe, my second breath could be someone else's first hope. So when people ask me, "How did you survive?" I tell them, "I didn't. He carried me." Now when I look back, I don't see sickness, I see salvation. I don't see a hospital bed, I see an altar where God showed me what grace truly means. They thought that night would be my last, but it became the night my soul learned how to live. Every day since then has been a gift wrapped in breath. When the morning light touches my face, I whisper, "Thank you." Not because everything is perfect, but because I'm still here. I've seen too many people lose hope when the doctors shake their heads. But let me tell you something, doctors can measure your pulse, but only God can measure your purpose. If you're listening to me right now, maybe you're fighting something, a disease, a heartbreak, a silence nobody else hears. Maybe everyone around you has already written your ending. But hear this, child, their words don't decide your story. Your breath still has meaning. Your pain still has purpose. And your ending might just be the beginning God's been preparing all along. So don't give up. Don't you dare let go. Because if God could bring an old, tired woman like me back from the edge, He can bring you out of whatever darkness you're facing too. Soft music rises, gentle piano with hope. When people tell me, "Beth, you're lucky to be alive," I smile and say, "No, honey, I'm chosen to be alive." And if you felt something hearing my story, don't just scroll away. Take a second, breathe deep, and whisper thank you for the breath you still have. Because that's where faith begins. Not when life is easy, but when you realize every breath is proof that it's not over yet. If my story touched your heart today, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I pray my journey reminds you, your last breath might just be your new beginning too.